Barbie's ready.
All right. I'd like to reconvene the September 10th regular meeting. The next up on the agenda I see is Village Hall.
And I was going to actually do an update at the next meeting, just based on what transpired at the last meeting. I know you weren't here, Councilmember Scoot, but I had presented a couple different proposals. One was to separate the sewer project into, a separate project, and we can go ahead and bid that out. There was conversation that the council had, and they decided they wanted to wait
Sewer project?
for the
Which
village
sewer?
hall,
Oh, okay.
which would reduce the impervious area so that we can get below those standards.
Okay,
That, for the DEQ permit and for the BMPs.
right.
So
But what do you mean separate it out, maybe?
just do the sanitary sewer tap project by itself. Don't even talk about Village
And
Hall.
don't talk about Village Hall?
Mhm.
Got it, okay. So
If we were able to do that, we were able to save 12,000 square feet of developed land, so then we could reduce that off of our total impact.
Okay,
But the board decided at the last minute to just wait.
okay. So what's on the agenda, what's on the agenda today?
Nothing.
Oh, nothing?
I was gonna provide an update at the work
Oh, okay.
session, so that I wanted to let everyone know that with like all the board members that were here. So hoping Councilmember Epps would be here so you could hear it too if y'all wanted to further discuss it.
And just for your information, parallel with that, after our meeting with the church and the pastor, I got response from both one of the aldermen and the pastor that they would like to get us all together to meet. And because we're so close to the election and all those things going on, that's fine. They wanted a little more in depth. There was a lot of concern. They wanted a little more in depth of what that negotiation would be like, which I said to the council that I wouldn't know what, it'd be more of a discussion thing. So, but I think they agreed that just to hold off on any, if there is a discussion for some sort of lease agreement, long-term lease agreement to be decided with the next incoming council, if that happens at all. So that was another thing that was discussed, so.
Okay, so just so that I can know where we're at, doesn't matter to me one way or the other, but we're not going to move, because I mentioned it the last time too, like we're getting close to the election. So we're not doing anything with regard to that property at this point. All things are off the table?
That's the consensus that I got at the last meeting.
Expending any further funds without knowing exactly where we stand, what's, until we have a clear thing. I don't see that we want to spend any more expenditure of any kind of funds that we don't need to.
Well, let me make sure I understand that when you say that we don't know where we stand, again, I haven't been here, so I'm trying to catch up a little bit. There was, last thing we talked about was $35,000, I think, to redo the plans, because we had managed to get it under the 20,000 square feet requirement, right? And so is that's something that we're not talking about exploring anymore? Because, no, and that's fine, I just want to make sure that if I can take something off my mind, then I don't need to worry about it.
I mean, that's kind of, that's where we were, because you've got the sewer option, you've got the $35,000 option for them to redo it, and
We got the discussions with the church.
With the church.
We got the auction coming up.
And which coming out?
the
The
election.
auction.
Oh.
So we decided that it may just be more prudent to let the next
More cost effective anyway.
incoming council let them make the next step forward.
And if the next council wants to entertain or sit down with them as maybe a special meeting where they can get the elders in to talk about it, to see if there is some way of doing it. They just were very concerned, and rightly so, because I don't know all the answers to it, and I don't want to start that fire, if you will, and hand it over to the next one. Maybe the next group's not even interested in that play, if that makes any sense, so.
Yeah, it's still hard to imagine. The only thing I'm having, it was when we were talking about buying it, it was one thing. When you're talking about investing and building on someone else's land and making all the improvements, that's where it kind of, starts to fall apart a little bit. But I was going to say, because there's probably items in there that I guess next council can do it too, but Spencer, you would be able to look into, right? Or Chow?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have two last
You have two
names, or
names,
two
right?
first names.
I can
it's
call you
been-
either?
It's,
I love
you
it.
can call me either. It's my first grade
Call
teachers
me
all the way
Al.
through that. I can be
We're
called.
gonna go with Al.
Uh,
You can call.
So you have to kick me, Kim.
Sorry, Mary. I'll kick you next time.
So, yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't,
can certainly continue to look into these options as they're presented, and there are a lot of different ways to do it. And you know, you can do a ground lease, and you can do long-term leases, and all those are maybe seem weird from a municipal standpoint, but it's really commercial development, and those happen. Frequently, it just depends on the terms of it. Make sure it's not a short-term ground lease when you put money. The more money in, the longer the term you want to go. A lot of times you can have a term so long, it's kind of like you own it, because you're going to have a lease term longer than a lot
Anybody's
of us
gonna
are
be
going
around.
to be. Yeah, exactly.
you're almost locking in future councils to an agreement too, so I wonder what that means.
It is, but it's similar to if you were to purchase a real estate and do long-term financing.
Right?
And then when you go beyond certain terms with both monetary and time period, you have to go through the LGC and do some of those parameters to make sure everything's lined up, because that would be a long-term debt financing. And so you'd have to make sure the structure is proper, to go through the proper mechanisms to get the security interest you need in the borrowing.
Okay,
That's all we have on that.
that's it? Just wanted to, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Next up, unfinished business. We had nothing on there, but you
Four
had.
fifteen. Yep, 4:15.
All right, let me jump to my notes here. April 10th, and I can only give you PDF pages, sorry.
I have April 15th. Did you also want to pull the
April
April
10th, I actually, you know what? I think I did have April 10th, but no, sorry.
Okay.
At first I wondered what the documents were for, and then I realized that you've actually incorporated all the meeting minute documents in there too.
Yes.
The attachments?
Yes.
All right, so no, you're right, it was April 15th on page, that's PDF page 87. I don't know how to give that to you so you know where I'm at.
Where are you at on the?
Pick a timestamp.
Oh, okay, good idea. 1:30, no, 14:08-ish, around there.
Oh, okay, so top of second page,
Oh, okay, yes.
okay?
On April what?
April 15th.
April 15th.
This is
Top of the second.
Top of the second page,
Okay.
okay?
sort of in the middle.
Yep.
This is probably the longest one I have. And it's more of like of a clarification, and I realize it was probably difficult to write. But would like to just clarify why, one of the information that I found that helped me mitigate the plat issues. And I don't know how to do this one.
So wait, hold on, is it the second paragraph where it starts Councilwoman Scoot?
Second, yeah.
Okay,
All right, now.
Barbie, you see that?
I see it, I just,
Okay, sorry, I
Okay,
just wanna make
that,
sure.
the property rights issue is mitigated by the authority NCDOT has, and now the village has, to invoke eminent domain and take up ownership of the road.
I don't know where you're at.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I
see
know
I
that.
it's
don't,
not
I
there.
don't see any of
Oh,
I'm,
so you're
I'm,
adding.
Oh,
yes.
you wanna add
I just
this
wanted
to
to
this-
clarify what, because I could see that you were kind of trying to provide my reason.
So
and
just
I'm
add, so you
clarifying
just
it.
want her to add this to the end of that paragraph?
Yeah,
Okay,
can I do that?
yeah,
Okay, do you
sure.
want me to read it?
Read it, but read slow. Barbie, you
And I
wanna write
can,
or
I can
type?
hand it
that
to her,
to
as
me.
long as you guys are okay with it, I can just email it to her
Okay,
later. and
perfect,
she
do
can
that,
have it.
Barbie. We'll
I
just
just wanna
like,
make sure
As
you
long
guys
as
are
it's
fine.
emailed to me by tomorrow, so I can put it up on the website.
Yeah, if you remind me, I'll even do it after our meeting, I'll just send this off to you.
okay, yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
Mary,
so-
sorry, read it.
Okay, that the property rights, so where are we? Okay, so it says Councilman Scoot stated another concern was the property rights issue.
Yep,
And understanding that certain authority comes with road acceptance.
Yep.
Okay, so at the end of that sentence,
okay. Add in there, so not the last sentence?
Right.
Okay,
the property rights issue is mitigated by the authority NCDOT has, And now the village has to invoke eminent domain and take up ownership of that road. Therefore, the risk to property rights and the concern about that was negated by the authority granted to this, granted in the statute to the municipality and or the state. And that's it.
All right, and then leave the last sentence.
Yep.
That sounds a little legalese. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
basically saying
I
it's
think it's
alleviated
in the
because we can
statute.
condemn it.
Right.
If we want
Yeah,
to. If
that's
there's
what
an
I
issue,
realized.
we can take it.
Yes.
But they just.
But I think that's what's stated in the statute, that's why I included the statute numbers. in
Yeah,
there.
oh,
Yeah.
that's true. I see what you're saying. You're saying
Yeah,
that
so
those
I
references
included
were
the
just like.
statutes in order for
Got
them
it.
to
The
read
statutes
out.
are where you get the eminent domain power.
Okay.
Yes.
So I can, if I maybe I could just shorten that sentence and just insert it in there about the
Yeah, but
property
these
rights issue?
concerns are alleviated due to the
Yeah.
eminent domain
The ability to invoke eminent domain.
by both NCDOT and the village.
There you go. Yeah,
Still write it down.
I just wanted to clarify why.
I don't even know what I said.
Well, it's on the recording.
It's on the recording part, you can get it off the recording.
I do know what I said. No.
I'll just get it off the recording.
Okay,
So that was my most difficult one, you guys.
Okay.
The rest of them are easier.
all right.
All right, so after that, April 30th?
Oh, we're table 30.
Oh, so that was the only.
Yeah,
one
that was the only
one?
change for
Okay.
that. Yep.
All right, April, hold on, let me get April 30th.
Mhm.
April 30th,
All right.
May 15th, May 6th, where's April 30th?
And I'll give you a timestamp when you're there.
I mean, I thought you put blue stuff in between these.
I did, but you probably.
Go ahead.
Timestamp 50. 00.
From the original.
50. It's like, I think it's only 2 pages, and it's on the bottom of the second page.
Oh, okay. Mayor Pro Tem Dispenzier. Need a
Yeah,
motion.
and then the motion passed, use your vote, and then it says,
Did you find it?
question the procedure going into closed session for interviewing contract employees, but then it said Councilwoman Scoot abstained from voting. Did I? I don't think I
Yes,
did.
that's what you said on the recorder. Now, if that's not what you meant, then you need to tell me what you meant to say there, but you do say you abstained from voting.
So was this when we were interviewing attorneys? Is that the meeting? I didn't abstain for that one. I know I could, I do for a few, but not that one.
I think you had some,
Yes.
I'm trying to remember, you had some conversation about what we had done previously.
Regarding attorneys.
I don't remember
Yes,
that.
and you abstained, but if you don't want it to say that, then we can change that,
Well, I guess like it says 3-0 vote, right?
because,
And who were the 3?
well,
Wasn't that me?
she can't abstain from voting.
She's
Unless
she's
she's
excused.
excused or has
Yeah, then
a
it-
conflict of interest with
Then it
that,
counts
so,
as
so
an
it's still
affirmative.
counted as an affirmative vote,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Yes, legal. You can say I'm abstaining for the record, but legally it counts
But it's
as
still counted as a vote.
an affirmative vote.
Yeah, if it was just hiring the attorney, I can't think of any reason why I would recuse myself of that. So anyway, I probably not what I meant.
Okay, so you want to put what you actually, what you really meant to,
I think
Just
the
remove
fir-
that?
Yeah.
you
we
want to
can
just leave it all
that.
together, strike it all
Yeah,
together?
yes,
Okay,
please.
we'll do that.
Thank you. Okay. And then May 15th, and sorry, I didn't have time to get to the audio and check, but, 8:30, May 15th, regular meeting. One comment, only because I see, so I'm on, sorry, timestamp. 44:56, at the very top of the page. I'll start there.
Okay, that's top of page 3.
Page 3.
And then they're talking about general fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
And if it, it just said the council discussed, if we'd left it there, it would be fine, but then because there were a couple of highlights about directed Alpha to contact the Union County School Board, and then app suggested changing the title of Tree and Shrubs, I felt like if we're gonna do that, then I wanna be sure that my note with regard to the trails at the park, just as a FYI, are mentioned. I know that y'all did that and it's all good now, but wanted to be sure that there's record that it was something we all as a council considered. And
And
I
where
don't
do
know
you
how to
want that
phrase
to
that.
be put?
Do you remember what I'm talking about? Do you remember when we were going through the budget and that was when there was a line item to introduce that crushed concrete at the park, at Bernier Park, and I said, have we checked with Diener to make sure that all that area is clear for flood, the flood
So if
zone
we
is
just
clear.
put some blanket statement there that says you discuss the flood hazard concerns that potentially may exist with our trails and make sure that our process is in line.
Something like that, and that staff had planned on
Okay.
looking into it, just if there's a record that it was looked into and then it was resolved. Because I think it's been resolved. Just a general statement. That's it.
Okay.
Barbie, good? Is that okay?
I don't care how you write it, just as
Just
long as
maybe-
it's mentioned.
Councilwoman Scoot requested that the town look into environmental and floodway concerns with Creststone along the trail. Is that-
Yeah,
At Marbury
that's
Park,
okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Any concerns with regard to the concrete, right, the crushed concrete trail improvements at the park? Something to that effect.
Hmm,
Where's that?
here, just in this section somewhere.
Oh, just somewhere there. Okay.
Great, when you're ready, I'll go on to the next one. May 30th. May 30th, timestamp 00:02.
What?
You know, this timestamp 00:02.
Oh, yeah, okay, page 3,
Which
This is
recording
May
is that,
20th?
1, 2, or 3?
Yeah. May 20th.
recording 2,
Or May
page
30th.
3.
Zero,
Oh,
zero,
recording 3. Oh, I
Zero,
didn't
zero,
realize
what?
that. 00:02.
We're on May 30th.
We're on May 30th.
It's actually just below that, discussion of
3.
statement of conflict of economic interest form. Yeah.
Two.
Again, I didn't check the audio, but it said changed at the meeting.
I don't know where you're
Hold
at.
on,
Oh,
me
I'm
neither.
sorry.
Items of discussion number 2.
0002 is a timestamp for reconvening the meeting.
Yeah, is that R2
That's right.
or
And I'm
R3?
saying, so just below that, because
Okay,
there's
just
no
below
timestamp.
that, and then council
Okay.
directed staff to send out an email to hold a special meeting. And then below that, it's council
Oh, I see
discuss
that.
agenda format and depth.
No, hold on. We in the right meeting? May 30th, 11 a.m.
May 30th,
Well-
11 a.m.
What page are you on?
Page 3 of 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we are.
At the bottom,
That's where we
discussion
are.
of statement of conflict.
Oh, the
Oh,
very
the very
bottom.
bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, okay.
Okay, so see how it says discussion of statement of conflict of economic interest form?
Yes, that was changed during the meeting because it has economic and then you wanted it to say interest of, conflict of interest form.
Didn't we have conflict of interest form and then we changed it to statement of economic interest? That's what I thought, I think. Minor change, but I think I had gone back to saying conflict of interest form, and then Kim brought up the fact that she liked the SEI form statement better. So we just have to fix that.
Just, yeah, it's on the recording 3, Barbie, at like the 2-minute mark. Just listen to it again, if you don't mind, and just confirm that, please.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yep, that's good. Next one, road acceptance policy. You guys can keep me honest here. On May 30th, timestamp 4402, recording 3.
That's page 4, the 4 at the top.
Page 4, yep, 404. It says, under discussion of road acceptance policy, it says that we discussed it in depth, but remember we were gonna bring it back and we were gonna talk about revising it? So I don't know that we discussed it in depth. I think we just tabled it, which we did, in the next timestamp. So I would just remove in depth.
Okay.
Right? Weren't
Yeah.
we gonna talk about it again in July? We just haven't got to it,
Yeah.
something like that? I don't wanna give anyone the impression that we did.
Just take out in depth.
Just take out those 2 words.
That's good.
The
On
last
both things, we said
one-
twice there. They also discussed road
Same process
road
as-
policy in depth, and then discuss the
Yeah.
roads resurfacing.
Just take out
in
the
depth.
2 in depth.
Yeah, just take out
Okay.
those 2 in depths.
Okay, there's 2 that need to be removed.
Okay.
And I think that might be it.
That's all that you called out.
Let me just double check, road acceptance. Yep, that's it. That's all I got.
Fabulous. So I'd like to make a motion to, actually, we can go and approve them, right? Approve the minutes as amended in the meeting tonight.
Yep.
And those are the minutes from
Oh, from
Specific.
4:15:19, 4:30:19, 5:15:19 regular meeting, 5:30:19.
Further discussion? All is in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have new business, Marvin Association for the Restoration and Sustainability of Wildlife Habitat, Marsh. Councilwoman.
Oh, that was me. Mary covered it. I'm good. She wasn't sure she was gonna be here, so I was gonna plead with you guys to please get your yards
No more?
approved. That's it.
Okay,
That's it.
Okay.
moving on. Next up is discussion NCDOT sidewalk swap.
Rohit's got that.
Okay.
Rohit, where'd you get? Rohit. He's got show and tell.
Yes, I got it.
props.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I was hoping you'd have something bigger than what you had on the.
yeah. And this is just a kind of conceptual diagram.
Oh, are you drawing for us?
Yes, I was drawing when I was back there. just now.
We
Okay.
went faster than you thought, huh?
Yes, that's true. Okay. So, sorry about that, Christina. All right. So I had a conversation with Travis Pressler, who's the project manager for NCDOT for this widening project on NC16. And basically, the conversation is kind of summarized in the staff report that you have here. But what happened is that the resident from Terrell Farms who came and expressed his concern about...
Sorry, Rohit, the residents from who?
Okay. Actually, yeah, you might need some context. So the gentleman back here, he came in the last meeting and expressed in a public comment that the widening of NC16 would disrupt the berms that are in the rear of 7 lots in Terrell Farms on the east side of Province Road.
Okay.
And he's been in touch with NCDOT with a proposal of asking council to swap the 12-foot sidewalk, well, the 12-foot trail which is on that side, with the 5-foot trail on the other side, with the hopes that the disruption would be reduced because there's a smaller sidewalk on that side. But now, I probably should have given you a copy of the staff report too, because the conversation it actually took a different turn than what I was expecting at all, which is that, basically, so this diagram represents what I was talking about in the staff report, which is that if you were to swap the 2 sidewalks, they would swap it in the same right-of-way width without changing any of the disruption on either side of
The right-of-way will
the
stay the
right-of-way.
same.
Right, the right-of-way would stay the
60
same.
feet, 60 feet.
Right, so it wouldn't actually accomplish
What-
the intention at all.
Can I speak?
Let me finish the next point, because what I want to say is that Travis Pressler then proposed that, you know, what would solve the intent of this would be to shift the alignment further to the other side, whether or not you reverse the sidewalk and the trail.
With NCDOT and having them adjust the alignment?
Right, but the idea is that council needs to propose this with, you know,
Got
some
it.
consensus to NCDOT. Okay,
Is it
go
okay
ahead.
to speak?
Yes.
I'm gonna give the, just to
Oh, wait,
make sure.
you have to give
Yeah,
it,
I have
not
to make
me,
sure
sorry.
that council allows, so just allow the gentleman to speak on behalf of why we're here in the first place talking about this, because he came to speak. We told him we'd put it on the agenda, so we all good with it?
Yeah, it's fine.
You can make a motion.
Thank you. My name's Tom Kutz, for the record, 1805 Thurl Farms Road. I work with the board members on the Thurl Farms HOA, and we have our president Nancy and her husband here tonight from the HOA as well. The right-of-way, I agree with what you're saying, the right-of-way, it's an imaginary line. However, what we're trying to prevent is, and I brought, if everybody wants to, I can give everybody one of these exhibits, so it's easier to talk from a photo than. Everybody got one?
Here, oh, that's Chaplin.
So, and I'm gonna hold this. This is north direction, so we have the CVS and the new Publix at the top here. This is the Thurl Farms subdivision right here. and this is the west side of the road. We have Willow Creek here, 2 lots that are affected. So the 12-foot path is currently designed on the Thurl Farm side, which is affecting 7 lots. That path will have to be, if you took a cross-section through the road, it's going to have to be a flat grade. So,
Cross sections, by the way, are in the packet also
Yeah.
for that
Oh,
section.
they are?
Yes.
A bunch of visuals didn't come in online, so I don't know if I got them.
I'm not sure, but I see them here.
so
I know.
It's just a bad resolution.
Yeah.
if I can just describe this
Oh, yeah,
this
because
way,
grid.
it's going to be hard. Because
Here you go.
if this is a cross-section cut right through that road, and that grade is coming down, that sidewalk is going to be 12 foot in width. If it was only 5 foot in width, even though we got an imaginary right-of-way line there, the grading, what we're trying to prevent is we have a huge landscaping mound with large mature trees that is our only buffer to the houses that sit in those backyards. So if we reduce a 12-foot flat area to a 5-foot flat area, it's going to save that mound because it's not, you're not taking that grade 12-foot flat, you're only taking 5 feet flat. Even though I know the right-of-way line's not going to change, that's just an imaginary line. That line is not adjusting the grade and the elevations of the existing ground.
Right,
So-
but I have to interject now because, see, the point of what I was trying to say is that even if you made that 12-foot sidewalk a 5-foot sidewalk, they would still shift the whole thing back the difference of 7 feet, and you would be in the same original position where your burn is being disturbed just the same amount as it was
So-
before.
So they would shift the road
Right.
7 feet towards Thurl Farms neighborhood?
Well, not shift the road, but since you're not just, by changing this 12-foot sidewalk to a 5-foot, you're not shifting the whole thing 7 feet. They would
They're
swap the
still grading
sidewalk
it.
and then move
Yeah.
it back the difference, because the right of way is a
Yeah.
concept, but
You mean
it's-
like the width of the green strip?
Say this is my
Right,
berm.
right.
This is my berm right here,
Right, right.
okay? The 7-foot
Mhm.
sidewalk is gonna start
right,
here.
so that's the 12-foot one, right?
Or,
Yeah.
The 12-foot sidewalk is gonna start right here, and it's gonna be flat, and then they're gonna
Mhm.
start taking out the mound.
Right,
If it's the 5-foot sidewalk on this side, the flat stops right here, and they're gonna match back to existing.
right, and that's what I have to say, that Travis is saying that's not correct. Because if you change the 12-foot to the 5-foot sidewalk, now let's swap places, the 5-foot sidewalk would still end right here. The 7 feet extra that
Yeah,
was
the
here
other
is just
side.
gonna be shifted to the other side.
They have to have the room on the other side, so they gotta make
But
it,
the center line of the road is not changing.
No, the center line of the road would change to
Is it-
accommodate that, because they don't have another 7 feet of right of way on the other side. To just shift the whole alignment this way, just because they're swapping sidewalks.
They don't have the right of way today. They've gotta go out and acquire that right of way.
Right, so that's why I'm proposing another option on the staff analysis is to ask council, to ask NCDOT that they actually do just shift the right of way
Right.
so many feet away
Yeah,
from
so
the
it's-
farm.
It's swapping the sidewalks out and shifting the center line
Right,
of the
but
road.
that's, swapping the sidewalks is actually not relevant because it's not the sidewalks that's the problem. It's where the edge of sidewalk to edge of sidewalk is, that's the problem. And if you swap the sidewalks, the edge of the sidewalks are still gonna be in the same location. Does that make sense?
the concern that
One
you
one
have,
requires a shift in the road, the other one does not.
Right, so,
Correct.
so what we came out of that discussion, me and
Probably
Travis,
common
was
here.
that the thing that you actually want is for the whole right of way to be shifted in this direction. Because swapping the sidewalks would not actually change where the sidewalk ends on the sidewalk.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're suggesting as the correction product, if I can explain this, if what I'm hearing you is right, is you have that, call it an easement or whatever, and it's, you're moving it out without changing, that wide sidewalk is still gonna be there. It's just, you're giving them more land, it's
Right,
pushing them
that-
out.
that is
And we're
what-
not impeding on their land as much.
Right.
And which would cause a shift in the center point of the whole road, correct?
Right, the alignment would shift over to the west if
Right.
you were to suggest that that's what you want to do.
Right. How big of a deal is that for, I mean, when you talk to them, is that a big deal for them to even consider? Because they're basically directing and telling us what they're gonna do. It's
Last
not
I
just
heard, they
being-
were at the 25% stage of the design documents. They were
Right.
25% of the way through the site construction plans.
At the end of the day, we
Yeah.
learn when it's DOT related, they do what they wanna do, and we have
Right.
very little say, but we'll, if
Yeah.
we can
Yeah,
help in
what
any
is-
way.
We don't
Like a
have answers, but we
recommendation.
also have to remember that one of the things that they did, if I remember correctly, when they drew up the plans, these roads connect to Waxaw's roads and sidewalks. So they were trying to coordinate the 8-foot width with what Waxaw was doing in particular, because Waxaw is actually funding a lot of their own road and sidewalk improvement. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that they put the 8-foot on that side
Right, that was
because they
another
wanted
concern.
it to
Right,
meet
that-
up.
that was
And I'm
another-
not saying that I
Yeah,
don't appreciate what you're saying, I'm saying that they may just like be really locked in, we don't know.
and my point is we have 7 residents affected here. We get on the west side of the road, we have large undeveloped tracks. We have the CVS and the
I'm gonna look and see if
CVS
I've
store
got-
and the car wash, and then south of Willow Creek, we have the water station, Union County Water Station, we have the Goodwill Donation Center, we have the power lines and a farmland, and then we hit Epcon courtyard at Marvin right there. So there is way less residential on the west side of Providence Road, is my point there.
And that's agreeable, and that's the one point that we can agree on, which is that
That's the HOA property.
you could argue to disturb that side of the road more because there's less stuff there.
Yeah.
I just want to make clear that when I was discussing it with Travis, it was very evident to me that swapping the sidewalks would not accomplish what you want. And the real solution is to shift the alignment
DOT.
further to the west, the left side, if the map is facing north.
Yeah. I hear what you're
We have to
saying.
blow this one up.
From a design standpoint, I don't,
Right. So this is why I made this diagram. I made this almost just for you.
Back about
60 feet of right of way. Right of way may be a concept line, but that's the amount of right of way that they have
Then you might blow it
available.
up.
And so this is
Oh,
this
there
is the
it
line that they have available on each side, and Terrell Farms is over here.
There we go.
Swapping the sidewalks would still put the edge of the sidewalk at the same location, and thus they would still need the same disturbance of that berm.
Well, go ahead.
They would just shift the elements in that same 60-foot
They're
right of way.
saying there's a curve connecting with Weddington.
Yeah,
That's
that-
why.
so we got
So,
60 feet.
Still not very good though.
No, it's too hard to read.
It's not 60 feet, but
Right, I just kind of.
let's just say it's
exaggerated the
60,
scale.
and that's 5 feet, and that's 12 feet.
go into Corwin's Marvin, or Marvin.
So I'd say
Corwin's
what,
Marvin, yeah.
how you're dimensioning.
This is the rest of it. I didn't draw this to scale. I specifically did not draw this to scale so that these edges would be exaggerated.
So all
Why
you're saying.
don't we match, instead of matching that edge, why don't we match it right here? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
because then they would need more room on this side. They would actually still have to get more right of way on this side of the street than they were planning.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The whole, it's
The
like,
whole thing
it's
is
almost
being
like they
shifted.
pick up a plate and they just sort of move it from
Yeah.
one side or to the other
They,
side.
they
of the
need the
table.
60 feet, all they're doing is taking this and moving here.
Yeah.
These, regardless of what side we put a 12 or 5, they're still gonna be the same amount from this imaginary
Right.
line that you talked about.
But this is what I mean to say.
Whether
You see, these center lines won't match. If they swap the sidewalks, they would shift the central elements of the road over this way, and the outer edge of the
Yeah.
sidewalk would still be in the same location as.
Well,
it
they'll
was
just
if the
taper it
trail's
back,
on
they'll
this
just
side.
taper it back down at both ends of the project. you know
Right,
what
but
I
they
mean?
still need to shift it this way to
Yeah.
accomplish
Like,
having
I
that
think what you're
gap.
trying to say is like the edge of pavement doesn't change, the right of way doesn't change, right? So the width from here to here, this is all NCDOT right of way, regardless. And what they do with it in between these two lines, might change, but it doesn't really change the ultimate length,
And grading that they need to do.
yeah.
Right,
of-
To
of-
make
of what-
that happen.
of what they do within that whole space.
Well, I wonder what Travis told us to come before y'all and have the sidewalk swapped and.
Which is why I wrote on this.
Well, they
map-
originally, to be fair, they originally asked, do we have a preference on
Right, right.
and stuff? And then we looked at it different, what we didn't want is them crossing back and forth.
Right.
Yeah, that's not my question is he's telling us that will improve our situation. You know, that's
Oh, he did say
what
that?
Travis Pressler at NCDOT said.
Okay, that's not what he told me.
So I think what we
Nothing would
need
change
is, it would be
the
great if he could give us a dimension cross-section of this scenario and this scenario, so we can see how are they situating the road in both of these scenarios, you know?
Yes.
Because if there's a way, because my intent was that 5-foot sidewalk goes in this location here, and that leaves an additional 7 feet plus the existing distance we had there.
But what I'm trying to say is that 7 feet
Yeah,
doesn't have
now
to
you're
be
moving
here.
the
Right.
sidewalk
The
over, where
12,
their sidewalk, they're
everything would
saying.
have to be pushed 12
Yeah.
feet. This trail would have to be pushed 12 feet. The edge of the right of way would be. have
And we
to be pushed
understand
12
that.
feet.
And
Bridget,
that,
do you think y'all can have a conversation with Travis on the phone and then we can provide an update to cancel at the work session?
Sure.
'Cause we're not gonna get an answer. This is what we're trying to accomplish tonight.
I'd go one step further too. I don't know, like, the civil plans that they provided, if they've got better, larger copies of these.
Oh,
that-
probably. I
yeah.
mean, these are probably 24 by 36s, and I just have to print them out in letter size.
yeah, he's got about the size of this table.
Yeah, and that's okay, it's, except that at least if it's a PDF and it's good quality,
Mhm.
right? We can zoom in and find out exactly where these right-of-way lines are,
Right.
where the construction lines are. I just wanna be sure that, because this is just not very well delineated.
That's fine. That's what you gave me. So.
Yeah, no, I realize that. So, I was just gonna say, yeah, you can have that conversation with him, but if we have to be drawn in at some point, just make sure that that when you speak to him, that it's really clear about what Farrell Farms understands
Yeah.
they've been told.
Yeah, and I think that was his direction,
Already
was
shifted
you're
it.
shifting this thing over, you're affecting these two lots, this is undeveloped ground, and then he'll bring the center line back as he goes to the north and he goes to the south.
Right, and what he was telling me is that you can just ask to shift the center line over without swapping the sidewalks. That part is irrelevant. But you can shift the center line over, and that is something that council can
Just
ask
raise your hand.
and
Well,
see if DOT can
and
do.
if that's the case, then if, this is the way I'm imagining it, you can still have the 8 foot, like just say that ends up being the issue. And if you're just shifting and realigning, you just realign everything.
Right, right, that would
I mean,
be,
the 3 foot
Essentially.
difference realignment, the realignment is the difficult part. If they're in the process, if they're allowing the realignment, shifting 3 feet and not disrupting that 8 foot plan, might actually be the easier way to go about it.
that's what he was telling me too.
Alright, so why don't you guys get on a call?
Does
Can
it make
you-
sense to have
Can
a
you make
meeting
sure he's got your number,
with these
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
your telephone
We're
number?
in touch.
Okay.
Okay. So you just wanted to know whether, like, you're gonna come back and then we're gonna
Right.
talk
We'll give
Well,
it
the
about
a-
purpose of this item was to
Work
maybe
session.
make a decision, but we will have to do more.
Yeah, I mean, cause we can't decide what they're gonna decide.
Well, I think he was asking for, correct me if I'm wrong, is for something from us, an official saying that, hey, we support if that's what we go to, then the motion would be to put some sort of resolution and to have them shift it.
We've got time.
Whether it
We don't
changes
have
your
to make a
sidewalk
decision
from
now.
12
it's
foot,
not-
I don't know if that
Yeah,
happens
right.
or not.
We've got
But the
plenty of
shifting, I
They've
think,
already
Yeah,
shifted.
I
understand that.
Starting right
Yeah,
here.
the whole main reason was
Shifted it a
really
little bit already.
twofold, was
Shifted it 5 feet.
NCDOT was needing that decision, that change requested by the Village of Marvin.
does that make sense,
Yeah.
Council?
Yeah, but we have plenty of time to do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay.
and just so you all know, we have probably a 18-foot landscape mound with 20-foot trees on it, and that would be completely wiped out. I've asked, if this doesn't change, and I've asked
Nobody's gonna be happy.
the NCDOT to do a sound study as well, and to put up a sound wall there if they wipe this whole buffer out, so.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you.
Council
Appreciate it.
staff, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I just checked, I'm not sure if I have the Thurl Farms plat. Maybe you can mark that down on the
This
action
one?
item
I
list.
think this one is in.
No, like the actual civil design plans on the V drive. So we can
Oh.
find out how much is common open space.
Yeah,
In that area?
that triangular one.
Yeah, it
There's
looks
two more
like there
lots. It's on the other side, it's open space.
Is that the civil design plat? that you
Yeah,
have?
and it should be under, I think it's called plats on the V drive. I might have it, but I haven't been able to find it, so I might not.
Okay, we're moving on. Next up, agenda items, review of action items.
Speak.
Barbie?
I have requested a
Sorry,
meeting
I should
with,
have all your stuff.
That's fine.
request a meeting with AMT Council and Chaplain on the roundabout drainage. Doing research with Laura, Chris, and Lisa Thompson on any information they have for what took place on July 2016 regarding drainage. And then get the Thurl Farm civil design plats to Mary.
Yes, please. And then
Or council.
NCDOT civil design plans too, wherever stage they're at. If we can get the high resolution PDFs, so we can zoom in. When I zoom in on this, all I get is bigger pixels.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you, Barbie.
Resolution approved.
Next up, council comments.
Oh, right.
Officers go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
One, I want to apologize. I meant to write a couple months, I guess it was, what meeting, August? I sent you, I sent you all the revised, what do you call it? Statement of economic interest, preparing for the meeting on Tuesday, and I still haven't apologized. I don't know what happened. I completely forgot that we changed it to a Monday instead of a Tuesday. So I was on my way to pick up Ethan and Michael from the airport, and I apologize for that. I didn't know that quorum relied on me that night either, so my apologies for that mistake. Other than that, good meeting. Thanks for the updates at the last minute, especially with the survey and pulling me up to speed on minutes. Thank you, and for letting me make those last minute changes. Thank you.
All right. Nick,
Yeah.
nothing? Okay.
Just want to thank staff. I thought it was a great meeting. Thanks to everybody.
Okay. I always have something to say.
I know you do.
Thank you for reminding me about Habitat for the Marsh. I encourage everyone to do that. It's very easy, and you guys, I guarantee you're probably doing it all. Hope we all voted today. It was a voting day, special election. Also, somehow, I think we're killing, Nick and I we're talking about this. We're killing a lot of trees.
Well, since
I know.
since y'all already passed all those, you won't get them.
Okay.
I mean, you're only gonna get one
Right.
set of minutes in a packet.
But it
saw
just seems like it's
that.
redundant, but if there's a way to shrink
But
this
believe
like.
me, that packet was that big
Yeah.
without those minutes.
So we did a lot of minutes,
We did a lot of
and we revised them, and then, that, once they're revised, maybe a suggestion that we put them up on a computer versus having to print them for us and us read them from that. I mean, I don't know, I looked at this and I was like, I hope we can figure out something.
You won't have that problem again.
Okay.
You'll have probably 20 pages.
Well,
of
and I
that.
remember suggesting a few months ago that just the minutes be sent in PDF form and then everything else get printed, to Joe's point, because then you can just read through. Like, if
Well-
we've already made the changes in the work session, all
Right,
we're doing
but
is.
for the first
reading,
time,
right?
I like it printed because I write
Yeah,
on
but
it and
like
stuff, but then
after.
the second time,
Yeah.
once it's approved, it goes to PDF and then we just eliminate a lot
You
of
don't mean
this.
approved, right? You mean after we've worked on them in the work session.
Yes.
Which means they're essentially
Separate,
approved to be
yeah.
put on the
I don't
consent
wanna-
agenda.
Can
So
I
once
clarify something?
once they get to the consent agenda, then really we should be looking at
Yeah,
the
I just don't
computer
wanna
screen
confuse
and
it with
say,
the
okay,
approved
yes,
or-
they corrected these.
Okay, hold on. Barbie's got to do it, so let Barbie.
Yeah.
But now, you all want hard copies of everything. So if you don't want hard copy of minutes, then you need to let me know, because that's what you've intended, that's why we have the binders.
Okay, so let me be clear if I'm, when we have the work session meetings where we do all the work and we're actually looking and
Well,
striking and doing.
they're on the screen during
Right,
that time.
right, but I work easier, maybe Nick does, I don't know if we all do, I know you work from a computer, but I do a lot of highlighting and stuff, so in that meeting, I have the paper copy. But then all we're doing to you at that meeting is we're giving you instruction, I believe, to make the changes. At that point, see, I kept my original, all the changes, I can actually compare this, okay, yep, they made that change, they made that change, they made that change, without having to print this much of paper again. Does that make sense?
But to my point, what I was trying to say is this is one set of minutes right here. So this is what you're typically looking at, 7 pages.
It's
Okay.
really just the attachments, so we don't
Yes.
need the attachments in the, when we're doing the consent.
Well, if you don't need the attachments since they're referenced in the minutes, I just didn't want you to come back and say, well, where's the attachments?
I
You've got
would
them
say, I would
referenced in the minutes.
say, work session, we get
I
the
was just gonna say,
attachments.
work
Yes.
session.
When we're getting, when we're getting ready to approve them in the regular meeting, we don't need the attachments.
Yeah.
Is everybody
That's
good
fair,
with that?
that's fair, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay with
fair.
that?
Well,
There
But you
was a
still
lot
just
of
need,
attachments.
but you still want a
all-
copy of the
not even,
minutes.
not even the paper minutes. Do you want the paper minutes?
you want the
for
paper
Well,
minutes?
see, I do, because then, like, say somebody's not here, and like today, I was able to flip through and say,
Oh, see,
okay,
I
yep,
just
I'm
kept,
good,
I just
okay,
kept
yep.
mine from the work session and I brought them with me and just, I brought them in. But that's all I did, just to, if there was something like that, so.
There's not very
I see
many.
what
There's not very many, and
Official
we're
package.
literally down to like one
We'll
set of
still have
minutes after
everything.
this, like,
Yeah.
We're-
Okay.
like, we're caught up.
Yeah, that's-
Hopefully
and
we'll
if
be
it's-
6 months behind.
Yeah.
And if
You
it's
still
me,
gotta-
I can actually
I still
correct it
have
so
to do it.
Yeah, her
The official
packet is
packet
still
has to
this
have that.
because for the online agenda
Yeah,
and
it's
it's passed
still-
legally, it's still gonna have
But-
all the.
but I would just say, don't print the
But don't print
attachments.
everything
For-
for y'all.
yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, does that make sense? Okay.
So just print the minutes, don't print all the attachments for the
And,
regular
and if
meeting.
anything else, let's talk about it at the next work session to be clear. If we're not clear on
Yeah.
that. How about that?
Yeah.
Sorry I brought that up.
Seriously. Alright, I don't
I
know,
just
we're
wanted
moving right
to, you
along.
I know.
Talk, talk.
Last thing I recommend, because we never know when officers, just a recommendation that I started telling my wife, when we're driving on this corner, flip on Waze, that'll let you know if there's an officer in the corner, almost every time. So
Oh, that's
for those
good to know.
people who are coming out and don't know until they make that turn and there's no way
Yeah.
making a U-turn, if you flip on Waze, they'll let you know usually
What's
if there's
flip
an
on
officer.
waves?
Waze.
Waze, it's an app on
It's an app.
your phone, it's a travel app.
Oh, the app.
It's a little secret that I encourage everybody to use.
It's a little app, Mary.
It's an app.
Okay,
That's all I had.
sorry.
Anyway, with that, I have.
I thought maybe he was like,
we're not
like
closing
flipping
it
someone
yet.
off.
We're going to
I have no idea what he was
Okay, we're gonna move into closed session. I need a motion to move into closed session.
Pursuant to NCGS 143-318A6 to discuss personnel.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Rohit, Barbie, thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot for that.
All right, so somebody turn that
Thanks
off.
for
and
your help,
somebody take
Shane.
notes.
Okay, you got
Taking
it.
notes.
I'll take them.
Uh,
Yeah, we gotta stop that
pause
for now.
or stop?